right. So now we're going to continue on with this demo, and I'm going to show you some additional things you can do with it. First of all, I've cut off the ear. I didn't mean to. Well, let's say I didn't mean to. I actually did mean to. I did it on purpose to show you that you can always get back by telling it to revert the series, and it will just reread. It'll just get the data again because it just temporarily painted black on each slice in that spot. And again, the way we got black there was to take the scissor tool, draw around an area, and then hit delete. Okay? Now then, click on 16-bit, and notice our collarbone came back too. And when you click on 16-bit, what we see is this ramp, which goes from white to yellow to red to black, and this gray bar down here. The gray bar is what we call a histogram. And a histogram is a representation of the data on the scan. So if we go back to the angio-CT, everything on this scan is a continuum from black to white with varying levels of gray in between. The histogram at the right end of the spectrum is reflecting the white, and at the left end is reflecting the black, and all the other grayscales, based on how dark they are stretched out in between. So here we're applying these colors to these ranges of the values. Okay? So if we move it over here, there's hardly any data over there, and we know that because the histogram is very low. And if we move it to the left, it will start picking up grayscale values which are darker. Okay, so the lightest, the brightest white stuff is the bone and the contrast. See the contrast in the vessels? The vessels show up here, right? So we could go through and zoom in here. If we keep scooting this to the left, we get the finer vessels. And we can also adjust how these colors are applied by scooting the red farther down and moving the yellow farther to the left. We get a different application of those on the skull. Moving them farther left will pick up even darker grayscale values. So now we're picking up skin. Skin was darker than bone, right? And if we keep going, we'll even pick up the foam cushion on the outside of her head, and then eventually we'll pick up the air. And lastly, the little bit of tape they put on her forehead to hold her in place during the scan, right? And her gown. And the button on her gown. And I'll finish this up in the next demo.